All right, let's talk about something that is just fundamentally human, something every single one of us has to deal with, the struggle of letting go. You know, whether it's a past relationship, a project that didn't work out, or even an old version of ourselves, just releasing our grip can feel next to impossible.
And that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Why is it that holding on so tightly, so desperately, often ends up hurting us way more than the scary act of finally letting it all go?
So to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to come at it from two really powerful angles. We're going to blend the timeless wisdom of Buddhist philosophy with some of the most cutting-edge discoveries from modern neuroscience. Okay, let's dive in. First things first, we've got to understand where this whole thing even starts. See, attachment isn't some kind of character flaw. It's a totally natural process that begins, well, the moment we're born. Think about it. From our very first moments, we learn to reach out for a parent's hug, for security, for comfort. This drive is literally hardwired into us. But, and this is the big paradox, the very same attachments that make us feel safe can become the biggest sources of our pain. And why? Because they get all tangled up with this deep, primal fear of change and loss.
So for a minute, let's rewind way back. Long before we had fancy brain scanners, people were thinking really deeply about this exact problem. Siddhartha Gautama's whole journey to becoming the Buddha kicked off with a quest to understand why we suffer.
And what he landed on was this core concept called dukkha. Now, it's often translated as suffering, but it's more like a constant low-grade ache. He saw that by always grasping for happy moments that never last and clinging to our desires, we create this void that can never be filled. The more we get, the more we want. It's a cycle. And this quote just nails it perfectly. The Buddha taught that absolutely everything is impermanent. Our relationships, our jobs, even our own bodies. So, by fighting this natural flow and holding on for dear life, we pretty much guarantee that we're going to suffer. We suffer from the constant fear of losing something, and then, you guessed it, we suffer all over again when we eventually do. So what was his solution? It wasn't about getting rid of all your desires. Not at all. It was about finding balance. He used his brilliant metaphor of a musician tuning their instrument. If the string is too tight, that's us grasping relentlessly. It's just going to snap. If it's too loose, that's us just giving up and avoiding everything. It won't make any music. The magic is in that sweet spot, the middle way, which creates perfect harmony. Okay, now, let's fast forward about 2,500 years and pivot from philosophy to science. Because it turns out these ancient ideas are being proven right now, by what we're learning about the human brain. It's kind of amazing. What neuroscientists are finding is that our attachments aren't just some vague feelings. They are physically wired into our brains. You have regions like the amygdala, your emotional hub, and the prefrontal cortex, your planning center. And they team up to create these deep neural pathways that tie together memories, feelings, and habits. And get this, when a deep attachment is broken, your brain lights up the exact same centers that process physical pain. That feeling of heartbreak? Yeah, to your brain, it's a real injury. And this is where it all comes together so beautifully. On one side, you have ancient wisdom telling us that clinging causes suffering. On the other, you have modern neuroscience showing us that, yep, broken attachments literally trigger pain signals in our brain. Ancient wisdom said the mind can be trained to let go, and neuroscience confirms it with this incredible idea of neuroplasticity, the discovery that our brains can actually rewire themselves over time. Two different worlds, one single truth. Okay, so we get the problem, right? And we know our brains can change. So what do we actually do about it? Well, this leads us to the practice of acceptance, and I mean that as an active, powerful skill, not just a passive idea. Let's be really clear about what acceptance is and what it isn't. It is not about giving up. It's not about being weak or just surrendering. It's actually the total opposite. It's a courageous choice to see reality for what it is, without trying to pretend the painful parts don't exist. It's about letting your feelings just be there, without judging yourself for having them. Here's a really powerful way to think about it. Imagine you're holding a burning hot coal in your hand. The solution isn't to try and convince yourself that it doesn't hurt, right? The only way to get relief is to make the conscious choice to open your hand and drop it. Letting go is that choice. It's an act of compassion for yourself. You know, modern psychology actually has a term for this whole idea. It's called radical acceptance. It's simply the practice of observing your thoughts and your emotions, even the really uncomfortable ones, without fighting them and without beating yourself up over them. You just acknowledge them. And this is something you can actually practice. It's surprisingly simple. Next time a difficult feeling pops up, just try this. First, just notice it. Give it a name, like, ah, this is grief, or, okay, that's anger. Then just take a deep breath. Acknowledge the discomfort you feel in your body. And finally, just allow it to be there. Trust that like a cloud in the sky, it will eventually pass through you.
So what's the payoff for all this work? I mean, what does it actually feel like on the other side, when we finally learn how to open our hand? Well, it's about finding this profound sense of emotional freedom.
Let's use one more metaphor here. Imagine that your mind isn't the clouds, the thoughts, the fears, the worries, but it's actually the vast open sky behind them. The clouds will always come and go. Some are going to be dark and stormy, others light and fluffy. But the sky itself remains untouched, open, and free. That's the state we're aiming for.
And the promise of this practice is huge. We're talking about liberation from that constant knee-jerk reaction to everything. We're talking about building real resilience so you can handle whatever life throws your way. It's about having a much deeper connection to the here and now, and ultimately, it's about finding a lasting peace that doesn't come from controlling the outside world, but from cultivating peace within. So I want to leave you with one final question to just sit with for a bit, and really ask yourself this. What new possibilities, what new energy, what new kind of peace could you make space for in your life if you truly chose to let go?